In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to dial on your messaging so that you get the highest return on your ad spend and the time you spend to make content. So let's get straight into it. Number one thing that you need to understand is that when it comes to your messaging, you have to boil it down to just three things, okay? And this is the market you're going after, right? Who is it that you're targeting, and specifically what segment of the market you're targeting, how these people think, which is their market level, their awareness level, sorry, and what conditions must be true before they make a purchase. Okay, meaning what are their buying conditions before they buy from you. Okay, so just to give you some context, by the way, in this video, when I talk about market, what I mean is the group of people that we can sell to. Okay, so number one thing that you need to know is, especially if you're spending less than $1,000 per day on paid ads, so you're spending less than 1K per day, you have to go after the 3% of in-market buyers. These are people that are already ready to buy your thing, okay? So to go deeper into this, there is a book written by Chet Holmes called Ultimate Selling Machine. And in this book, he talks about the different market segments. So if I give you an example right now, okay, I need you to imagine that. Imagine you had your entire market in one space. Okay, you filled up a stadium with your entire market. Obviously, not everyone is going to be ready to buy right now. Okay, but Chet Holmes, with his experience in marketing, what he realized was that there are a percentage of the market that are ready to buy right now, and that is the top 3% of people. Okay, so in this video, in his book that he wrote, the top 3% of people are these people right here, okay? And this is described as the in-market buyers. In market. Okay? So what does in-market mean? In-market means that these people are actively looking for the solution that you have to offer. Okay? These are people that are aware that you are someone. These are people that are aware that they have a problem and they need a solution, and they are actively looking for this thing. Okay, the next segment of people, we're going to call these the needs convincing people, right over here. Okay, these people, they're not entirely sold, but they just need a little bit of convincing before they make a purchase off of you. Okay, and then down here, right underneath it, we have, let's call this color blue, we have mass market. Okay, these are people that don't think they're interested yet. Okay, so this is what we refer to as the mass market segment. Okay, now the thing is, there is one more group underneath this, okay? This red group here. However, the problem with this red group is that these people are non-buyers, okay? Meaning that these people are never going to buy from you, okay? And in this stadium that you're selling to, this pyramid that represents your entire market, the entire group of people you're selling to, around 30% of these people are never going to buy from you. Okay, these are the skeptics, the people who don't think that you're even capable of getting them a result. These are the worst of the worst people. Okay, there's no point in selling to these people, or these are people who are just not in your market. Okay, they might identify that they are in your market, but they're actually not. Okay, the other 30% of people, the ones down here, okay, these people, they're not aware that they're interested in the service that you're offering, and this is what we call the mass market. Okay, this is the general public. Think people who start biz ops. Think people who teach how to start a social media marketing agency, or teach how to start coaching businesses and things like that. Turning regular general public 9-to-5ers into entrepreneurs. That's an example of a mass market. Okay. Needs convincing, these are people that aren't entirely sold on your solution. Okay, this is another 30% of people. And in market, these are people that are sold on your solution. They believe in exactly what you are selling, and they believe that it will work for them. Okay, typically, we're going to choose a different color. Let's use this blue. Typically, in market people, these have the highest ROI or the highest ROAS. Okay. Needs convincing, they have smaller ROAS. Mass market has an even smaller ROAS, and non-buyers, they never buy, so you'll lose money on that segment of the market, okay? And if you are spending less than $1,000 per day, you need to be focusing on the in-market demographics. And obviously, there are a few caveats to this, but generally speaking, in-market demographics is where you want to go to. If you're spending between $1,000 to $3,000 per day on ads, you will be forced to transition from in-market to the needs convincing demographic. And once you're spending upwards of $3,000 to $5,000 per day, some people spend $50,000 per day, other people can spend upwards of $2 million per day, then you'll be forced to go into the mass market. Okay? The mass market segment where you'll be aggressively scaling, right? But to begin with, we need to master the in-market, and that's where a lot of direct response comes in. Okay? This is where direct response copy comes in, directly calling out in-market buyers so that you can quickly see the fastest ROI and the fastest ROAS. Okay, so that being said, here's how we can target these people. Now that we know the market segments, the what, we need to know how they think, and how they think is their awareness level, right? So awareness level, this is a concept introduced by Eugene Schwartz in his book called Breakthrough Advertising. Very, very good book. You should definitely read it. But the mass market, okay, these people tend to be completely unaware. Okay? The problem and solution aware people, okay, these generally tend to be the needs convincing market segment. It needs convincing. Okay? And product and most aware, these people tend to be in market. Okay? They're actively looking for a solution, right? Our job as advertisers to make sure that you get the best the highest ROI people, especially if you're spending less than $1,000 per day, and if you're running advertisements for yourself, you want to be advertising to this group of people here. Okay, you want to be focusing on people that are solution aware and product aware. Okay, and just a quick definition if you don't know what these things mean. Completely unaware, these are people that have no idea who you are. Problem aware, these are people that know that they have a problem. Okay, solution aware, these are people that know that they have a problem and they know what they know that there are solutions out there for them. Product aware, these are people that know exactly what products that they want and the products that you're offering. Most aware are people that are right on the verge of being closed by you. Okay, so to put this into context for you, if you're a fitness coach, a completely unaware prospect would be someone who isn't even aware that they have the problem. They're not even aware that they are overweight. Problem aware, this is a prospect that knows they're overweight. Solution aware, this is a prospect that knows they're overweight and they know that coaching and diets and these training plans are out there for them. Product aware, these are people that are aware of the different coaching programs that they could go for, including yours maybe. And then most aware, these are the people that are on a sales call with you and they just need to be closed. When you're advertising to begin with and you're going after in-market buyers, okay, you will be primarily going after the product aware people. You will be primarily going after the product aware and the solution aware people. Okay. However, what you need to know is that when you are going after these people, this is where you get the highest ROI, but you will hit a ceiling. And when you do hit a ceiling, you're going to be forced to go from product and solution aware. You're going to be forced into the problem aware demographic of people, and then you'll be forced into the completely unaware, market segment of people. Okay. And depending on which market segment and awareness level you're going after, depends on what type of copy you need to write. Okay. And it also means you have to spend more time, energy, and resources and have crazy volume to reach those levels and those types of people. But again, for this video, I'm going to assume you're spending less than $1,000 per day, and you need to focus on the product and solution aware market segments and the product and solution aware demographics. Okay, so that being said, how do we actually go about doing that, right? In front of me right now, we have mass market. These are people who aren't even aware, okay? This is the general public. This is not the person you want to go for, okay? We do not want to go for mass market. Instead, we want to go for in-market, okay? And how we do this is by using assumptive language, okay? The higher awareness you're going for, meaning the smaller market segment that you're going for, meaning the higher ROI or the ROAS that you want, the highest return on investment for you, especially when you're starting off, the more specific and more direct your language needs to become. So mass marketing, that type of language is stuff like, what is lead generation? Okay, it's based out of curiosity. It's very broad education, and we are going after the product problem aware and honestly more of the unaware awareness levels of prospects. Okay, in the in-market demographic, these are people that are actively looking for a solution with cash in hand. This is where you want to be assumptive and very direct. Okay, you want to be giving the specific outcomes. Okay, and you are going after more solution aware people. Okay, for example, if we're using lead generation as your service, say having a piece of content or an ad that says what is lead generation, you are trying to educate people, and it's harder to convert those people onto your offer because they are less educated. Okay, however, for in-market demographics, you're going to assume that they already know what lead generation is, and you're going to say something like, this is how to optimize your lead generation campaigns. Because as you make that piece of content, you're making that content for someone who is later down their journey in lead generation. And you're assuming that they already know what lead generation is, meaning they are closer to becoming a client of yours. This is very assumptive and direct language that you're using. Okay, so this is why assumptive language works. The reason assumptive language works is because you become more relatable to the person, because they finally feel like they're speaking to someone who actually gets it. The prospects will self-disqualify from the piece of content or the ad that they've been presented with, okay? Because it automatically by nature it automatically disengages the people you don't want to speak to. Okay, so if you're speaking to mass market and if you're speaking mass market and super basic education, you're going to naturally not attract the people who are super advanced. Okay, but if you are speaking super advanced, you're going to naturally disqualify people, or the people will self-disqualify themselves who are on the broader, more beginner side of the spectrum. Okay, and because you're only speaking to those people who are further along the sales, journey, you will have a faster sales cycle because you're cutting out all the education that they need before they are ready to make a purchase from you. Okay, this is why assumptive language is so powerful in your messaging. So there is a difference between assumptive language and educational language too. Educational is more for mass market. Assumptive is more for in-market, where you will see the higher ROI, again, assuming you are spending less than $1,000 per day in ad spend. Okay, so as a fitness coach, this is what mass market messaging looks like, what you want to stay away from. 3 reasons why you need to build muscle this year. Okay, this is going after someone, and this is being targeted towards someone who doesn't even know they need to be building muscle. Okay, whereas assumptive in-market language would be, before you start your next bulk, fix these 3 common mistakes. Right, this is assuming that they're already doing the bulk, and they assume that they already know why they should be bulking, but you're giving them specialist advice as to what mistakes to avoid. Okay, in a lead generation context, let's say you're offering lead generation services, instead of saying what is lead generation and how does it work, okay, this is too educational, too broad. We want to say something more specialist, like how to stop wasting your budget on broad targeting and how to scale. Okay, this is going to speak to a person who is actively looking for this information because they are in the market. They are looking for these types of solutions from someone. Okay, in the finance industry, a random industry I picked, why investing early is important for your for your future. This is towards someone who is a beginner who they don't yet understand what investing is and why they should be investing. Whereas someone who is more of a seasoned investor, they already know this stuff, okay? And you want to be going after someone who already has, who already understands what a portfolio is. They already understand what investment is and why they should be doing it. But they're looking for a solution that will give them higher return on their investment, okay? And a good piece of content for that specific market segment, that person who is at the higher level of awareness, okay, a good piece of content for them is your portfolio allocation dragging down your returns? Okay, or if you want to go one step further, you'd be saying how. Oh, I messed that up. You'd be talking about how your portfolio allocation is dragging down your returns. Okay, do you see the difference? One assumes the state that they're in. It assumes that they are already sophisticated, and you're assuming that they're already at the point where they're just about to almost buy from you. Very minimal education required from your part, meaning you'll have a faster sales conversion cycle. Okay, now when it comes to making your content, you can understand the market segments, you can understand the awareness levels, but how do you actually go about making the content? Okay, this is where buying conditions come in. All right, a buying condition is just a specific factor or a belief that must be true before someone buys from you. Okay, this is essentially just the reason why someone chooses you over other alternatives. Okay, and how you can discover what these reasons are to make content around, you just go into the sales calls transcripts that you've taken, and you evaluate the differences between people who closed and didn't close. Okay, so how do we identify them exactly? We're just going to again review your sales calls and ask these questions. What separated the people who bought from the ones who didn't? Okay, what beliefs did buyers have? So beliefs buyers had that non-buyers didn't. And what objections came up repeatedly from people who didn't close. Okay, little caveat here, make sure the people that didn't close that you're going after, make sure the ones who were qualified, the ones that were qualified but didn't close. Okay, but with no close. This is who we're going after. Okay, so what we want to do, to give you an example of this, right? If you analyze your call transcripts and you evaluate the differences between the ones who closed and the ones who didn't close, and you discover that one of the buying conditions, one of the conditions that must be true in order for them to purchase your meditation service is that they already must be anxious to the point that nothing else has worked for them. So one of your content strategies should be facilitating the fact that nothing else has worked for them. So you're going to be throwing stones at alternatives like therapy and medications to show them why they failed when they tried those other things. And what this does is it positions your service as the only viable option left for them. Okay, very, very powerful stuff. In a lead gen agency, let's say you analyze your call transcripts and you realize that they must believe that paid ads are more scalable than just organic content alone. So your content strategy should be directly comparing organic and paid advertising and showing the limitations of organic only strategies. Okay, again, be careful. You want to assume that they already know what the limitations are, but you want to help facilitate, okay, and support their beliefs. You want to facilitate their beliefs and support them in thinking that they're right, so that they eventually do buy from you. Okay, they buy from you as the logical next step. Okay, very, very, very important thing to understand here. Okay, again, with another example, let's say you're selling high ticket sales coaching, right? People need to believe, in order for them to purchase from you, they need to believe that their current sales process is leaving money on the table. So what your content strategy could look like, or your advertising strategy could look like, is breaking down the common sales mistakes and show them what elite closers do differently. Okay, and the key thing here with the common sales mistakes, you need to make sure these are like active. These are active conditions, active mistakes that they're doing. Okay. These are active mistakes that they're doing, right? And the outcome of this is they should clearly be able to see the gap between where they are and where they could be, which obviously is more money. Okay, this is how you want to go about building out your content strategies using assumptions and using the buying conditions. Okay, so you need to create content that fulfills on the buying conditions that must be true in order for them to make a purchase. Okay, so ultimately, how you do this is by identifying the conditions that are true, by analyzing the sales calls and that separates the buyers and non-buyers. You need to facilitate their beliefs by making it easy for prospects to believe that those conditions are true. Okay, and then you need to position yourself in a way that throws stones at alternatives to position yourself as the best option. Okay, and again, to really hit the nail on the head, how you want to be doing this stuff is by understanding the in-market segment, the market segment that you're going after, which for us is the in-market. Okay, especially if you're spending less than $1,000 per day. You need to understand how exactly they think and what their current belief systems are, which is the awareness level, like how aware they are. Okay, and then you need to understand what buying conditions must be true for them to buy from you. Okay, and then when you know what those are, you need to be facilitating their beliefs to position you as someone who is worth buying from. Okay, and that's how you go ahead and fix your messaging. Okay, and a pro tip here is you want to let context do the work. So your content should make them feel seen without explicitly calling them out every single time. Okay, your content should naturally, to the person consuming your content, they should naturally know that this content is for them based on the context and the assumptive language that you're using. Again, to give you an example, if you are a fitness coach who specializes in helping people put on 30 pounds of muscle in a 60-day period, okay, or not 60-day, let's say 180-day period, okay? You don't want to make content, especially if you're spending less than $1,000 per day. You don't want to make content that goes to mass market. If you want the highest return and you haven't exhausted that market segment, you haven't been forced to scale past, you haven't hit a revenue ceiling yet. And by the way, a revenue ceiling would be around $100,000 per month. Okay, give or take, depending on the industry. If you haven't hit that revenue ceiling yet, you need to focus on the in-market segment, and you need to focus your language and assume that you're speaking to people who are already aware of the solutions out there and they're already aware of the problems that they have. You don't need to educate them on those problems. Okay, so if you're a fitness coach who specializes in helping people bulk up, you don't need to. If you're going after the in-market segment, you don't need to go after people who don't know what the gym is, or they don't know that they need to put on the muscle, because it takes too much education to get them to the point at which they're ready to buy from you. You want to go after the low-hanging fruits first, which is going after the people who already know that they need to be bulking up, and you're speaking to those people specifically by giving them contextual, specific advice that is specialist. Okay, you need to be giving them specialist advice that understands their context. If it would let me write, that understands their context. Okay, so that being said, if you guys want a higher ROI on everything, you found this video super helpful, I would love to give you personalized implementation and support and go into very real detail. Everything I went over today, believe it or not, is very, very basic. And we go into detail on exactly how to deploy scaling strategies depending on which part of the market you're going after. And I'll make sure you get a higher ROI on your time and money compared to if you were doing it alone. If that sounds interesting, please go ahead, check out the offers I have down below. If not, I wish you happy scaling.